two relatively inexperienced pilots found themselves caught in a fog bank. And try as the two of them might, they weren't able to find their landing field or even realize where they were. They were completely disoriented. And they kept calling for help on the radio and nobody answered. And all of a sudden, at one point, the radio came to life and this voice came on and started helping them and gave them directions to an airfield nearby where they could land. So they landed the plane, and as soon as they got out, they wanted to go thank this person. And they discovered that the landing field was abandoned. There was nobody there. And they never were able to identify the voice that had guided them to that landing field. True story. There are many such stories about angels, about some mysterious person or being that has stepped in and helped people. And I think often in this world where everything is so much about reality, even the reality that we create on TV, which isn't reality, we sometimes forget that there are still much about this world that we don't understand, and many things that happen in our lives that we don't understand. I would imagine if we were sitting around a table now having dinner, every one of you could relate some story of that type, of where something just unexplainable happens, something by accident. We always call it an accident. How can it be an accident? But how something came to us or happened or changed or was fixed without our doing anything. I have a very intense personal story. Some of you know that my wife and daughter and I are survivors of the Northridge earthquake. Our house is 9 miles from the epicenter. That horrible morning, I was already in the shower. That shouldn't surprise any of you because you know how early I get up. My wife was already in the kitchen and our daughter was in bed when the earthquake hit. It was scary beyond imagination. It was like being in a haunted house because you could see the building and the lights, the actual rooms going like this. It finally stopped. I jumped out of the shower, toweled off, threw a robe on. My wife, and of course, where did my wife and I both head? For our daughter's room. Because our daughter, her room, she had a big water bed, and she was young. She was 7 years old, 6 or 7 at the time. We ran for her room, and she had this big water bed with this big, you've all seen them, right? With the big backing, with the two cupboards and all of that, and two big mirrors, there with a beautiful light over top. And when we both reached the same point at the top of the stairs, we found her standing there. And we checked to make sure she was okay and everything. She said, yes, she was fine. And we said, how did you get here? She said, I don't know. When I first kind of became conscious, I was standing here. So we went about we had to get out of the house and so on. So later when we finally got back into the house and it was light because the earthquake happened when it was still dark, we started checking around and we went into her room. Both of those huge glass mirrors had broken out of their tracks and fallen into the bed. For the rest of her young life, her juvenile years and teenage years, she carried a guardian angel on her backpack or on her, because the only explanation for her getting to where she was without her being conscious was somebody getting her there. And so to this day, even though she doesn't subscribe to our faith, she still believes in guardian angels. My brothers and sisters, we're called to sometimes believe in things that the rest of the world doesn't believe in, that they don't accept. And yet, in many ways, it's hard not to believe in them. And I think sometimes it's harder to not believe in them and accept them than it is to believe.